everyone. So we'll be starting our next session in around 4 to 5 minutes, which will be partly cloudy IPA, joining cloud VMs to free IPA.
To go? Awesome. So, welcome to my session on partly cloudy IPA, joining cloud VMs to free IPA. I am Akshay. I work as a senior quality engineer in Red Hat. Today, as agenda, we will discuss few topics. We will find a better way how we can have a pain-free identity management in hybrid cloud. We will talk about its problems, what challenges we have, how we solve that problem with our project, that is Podengo project. Then we will see a pre-recorded demo. And after that, we'll dive into some technical details. At the end, we will talk about some gaps, some future direction, and some opportunities. So, like I've introduced myself, I work in the identity management team in Red Hat. This project, Podengo project, is a collaborative effort between various sub-teams like the service delivery, UX, and documentation. This presentation is also a part of collaboration between me and my colleagues. They have presented this topic in different conferences like Everything Open and in FOSDEM this year. And the pointer, okay. So before we dive into much more technical details, I would like to make you understand a bit about or what this session requires as a knowledge for you to know. So you should have a basic understanding about cloud computing, what are different cloud providers, what is a virtual machine, and those things. You should have basic understanding about identity management and its concepts. I will try to explain identity management with an example. Let's say, imagine a building in which each employee has an authentication card to authenticate or to access different part of the buildings. Similarly, in IT, identity management work, it check which user it is, what different privileges this particular user has, and depending on the privilege, the access is granted over different services, application, and whatnot. So now you have a basic understanding about what is identity management. Let's move ahead. So initially we discussed there are few setbacks, some problems which we had in the already existing infrastructure. We'll talk about that in brief now. So imagine, so all these things are happening inside a cloud environment, and you are provisioning a machine inside a cloud environment. The first thing which will come to your mind, how you will authenticate to this machine. And more often or not, you will use SSH key to authenticate with this machine. There might be few questions which might arise. What will happen if this machine wants to communicate with other machines or other services? What will happen if this machine needs, or this particular machine needs to be accessed by different user? Suppose someone who has access has left the company, how you will revoke the permission on that? So these are the problems which we have with virtual machines and its way to access it, and we will see how we have solved it using identity management and, in short, Podengo project. So in this slide, you will see various approaches with which you can authenticate to a machine. The first one we already have talked about is the SSH key. The disadvantage is it doesn't scale up, and like I mentioned, it's very hard to revoke. Then you can use SSH certificate, but it would require some special purpose PKI. and it does scale well, but it has some limitation. Then you can use some third-party solutions, or you can use corporate IDM, in our case, FreeIPA or Active Directory, or you can use corporate-based IDM Entra ID, out of which we kind of selected or wanted to pursue ourselves with corporate IDM. The reason behind is, as we are part of the identity management team, we wanted to pursue the solution with this approach, and we'll see how this solution had solved those issues which I have talked about. So we'll discuss in a bit about those issues. When you provision a machine in a cloud environment, these are some set of issues which you have. Even if you have configured identity management, it's still not automatically configured. It needs some manual intervention in between so that you will configure the IPS server, the client, and those things. And definitely you will, the credentials, the sensitive data will be some issues. So that's why you need an automated way to do this, and we will see how that's been done. So let's cut down to some bottom lines which we already have talked about. What we want a less complex and cost efficient identity management solution in cloud environment. We want user to have or use existing IDM, so they don't need to start anything from scratch. And definitely we don't want to sacrifice any securities. So there we go, the Podengo project and Red Hat Hybrid Cloud Console. We won't not go much in detail about the Red Hat Hybrid Cloud Console, but we will talk about the Podengo project now. So the Podengo, the name Podengo is from a Portuguese dog breed. It's pun at the Kerberos. We wanted to use something similar, so that's why we choose this name. It also, in short, stands for Pod plus Go. Go is the language in which this whole project has been written in. And we get a cute mascot. That's the best advantage of it. And there is a link to our GitHub project. So there are various components of this project. These are the backend, the front end, IPHCC server package, and the client package. Backend is running on the HCC cloud. It has an open API spec. You can go to the link and see what all APIs you can hit or use. The front end is used to communicate with the backend. We have different packages. The server package is installed on the server to make sure that the registration of the server happens with the hybrid cloud. And we have a client package which makes sure that whatever client comes in picture will automatically enroll to the server. So in short, I'll just talk about Hybrid Cloud Console. It's a service which is used to manage different Red Hat environments. It has different features like Red Hat Insights to list some machines, images to create images, and domain join. It supports multiple cloud providers, so that's kind of like a must in modern world. So our solution is a 3-act solution in which first you will register your FreeIPA machine to the Hybrid Cloud Console. Then you will build an image with IPHCC client package, and you will hope that when you launch the machine, it will automatically get enrolled to the IPA and it's securely enrolled. So what are some benefits, some advantages of using this? You can have or use your own or existing infrastructure. We have a saying like you can bring your own server, and that server can be automatically registered and you can use that server. Second advantage is it's no manual intervention. It's already automatic, so you don't need to do anything in between. it does take a little bit of time, but there are some overheads in which we will talk about those overheads while we see the demo. Sorry, I missed the last part, which is like no credential has been shared between the hybrid clouds, so no risk of sensitive data to be lost. So I will hit to this YouTube link and we'll see how it works. Are you guys able to see the screen or not? Okay. And I probably would require someone to help me here because the screen has changed. मुझे वो जो डेमो वाला लिंक है ना उसमें जाके बस उसको प्ले करना है प्लेलिस्ट को अगर नहीं होता है तो हम मेरे पास मेरी स्क्रीन से भी शेयर कर सकते हैं यहाँ पर है वो डेमो वाला यस 1 2 3 4
So ये directly करेंगे.
I hope it will play. Is it audible?
I think it's not.
I think it's not.
ऑडियो तो उसमें से आए तो वो स्क्रीन शेयर हो रही है. नहीं इसमें ये लगाया हुआ है ऑडियो के लिए.
चेक कर लेना चाहिए था.
डायरेक्टली फेस दैट
या तो फिर से प्ले कर दो अगर साउंड के साथ आता है तो इट्स ओके. Yeah, it's with the audio.
Akshay AirPods Pro.
एक्सटर्नल रिपोर्ट आउटपुट ये है ना सही है प्ले करना इस बार
No sound. थोड़ा आगे जाओ. नहीं, there is no sound. To start the slide again, so yeah. So
In this demo, I'll
Yep.
show how to register an existing Red Hat Identity Management or FreeIPA deployment with Red Hat Hybrid Cloud Console so that new virtual machines can automatically join the domain. We start logged into Hybrid Cloud Console and let's visit the directory and domain services interface. Here we see that there are not yet any registered domains. So let's launch the wizard. The first page tells us about the prerequisites. In particular, we need to have the IPA HCC server package installed on the IPA server. Here is the IPA server, and we can check that that package is already installed. So we're good to proceed to the next step in the wizard. We're given a registration command, which includes the unique registration token. So run this command on the IPA server. The details of the domain to be registered are displayed, and a confirmation prompt to after which we shall say yes, let's proceed. Is mostly complete now. So the IPA server has contacted the directory and domain services service on Hybrid Cloud Console and provided all of the domain information. We can proceed to the next step, finalize the information for this registration, so we can change the display name if we wish, immediately upon completing this registration wizard. Let's leave it enabled. A final review page gives some summary information about the deployment being registered. So let's complete the wizard. And that is the registration step complete.
Let's do one thing. I will use my audio and I'll explain it what's happening in the video because this is not working. Can you just mute it? Just play the second video. Yeah, second one. It's okay. So I think like we have seen, we have already had a server which is already registered. This is the server and we will see how we can how we can create a blueprint and launch an image. Right now we are creating an image. In this step, you can see this is how we have already had created the server machine. And there is a way with which we will be creating a client machine right now. Then we'll hit create blueprint. Here we'll select the RHEL 9 as the default version. We'll select AWS as the cloud provider. There are different ways with which you can still give different providers if it is on your premise. You can use virtualization, you can use bare metal and all those things. So once we have selected all these things from where we want to provision the machine, we'll try to hit next. So in the next step, we will give the source. In our case, that source is the AWS cloud provider. It will have its default region already set. So you just need to hit next. This is very much important. You need to checkbox automatic registration and enable so that the Red Hat subscription management and Red Hat Insight gets checked in, and then only the auto enrollment will work. You hit next. You probably don't need to do anything here, so just next. This is just basic things related to the machines. This is a very important step. Here you will select the RPM package which we have talked about, which is IPA HCC client package. So you need to select the repository from which you will be doing that. After that, you will search for that package. Once you got that package, you will select it and will hit next now. So this is the package and this would be the way with which we will rename the blueprint. For the demosec, we will call it RHEL 9 IPA HCC client. And we'll hit next and we'll hit on create blueprint. So this will take a bit of time to make sure that the image is ready to be launched. So after that, we'll hit on build images and it will take a brief amount of time to make sure that it all works. How it does, we'll see that in the next demo. So these are some information about the Red Hat server. We'll go to the image which we have created right now. We'll try to launch this image. So for that we need to hit enter, need to click on launch. Here we will provide all the basic information about the server, whatever we required. And we need to select the proper template. Template is very important because in the template you will configure how your DNS and everything should work. So this is like this has been already pre-configured in the AWS. So that is what we are doing here as of now. I'll move ahead a bit and we'll hit next. Select the SSH key with which we want it to be created with. In the demo, we probably won't be using this key at all, but yeah, for the sake, it is a required state which should be there. So that's why it is there. And then you will click on launch. Once you click on launch, it takes almost 1 or 2 minutes for the machine to come up, do all the pre-configuration things like connecting to RHSM, subscription manager, and all those things. Here we have a different user, which the user is EIDP. On the server, you can see on the IPA server, you see this is the user, and we'll find more detail about this user. So we'll do a K-list. We'll just make sure that we are on the server. And with IPA host list, host find command, we'll see that the client is there and it's automatically enrolled. But still there are a few things to check that it works perfectly fine. So we will run user show command. It will make sure that give us a detail how this client is configured. You can see the user auth type is IDP. It's an external IDP configuration, and we are using GitHub to authenticate with it. This showcase how it's been configured. Now we are going to the client machine with EIDP user, and it asks us to authenticate with the PIN, and we'll go to the GitHub login and we'll provide the PIN there, and with that we will authenticate to this user. So here we are on the GitHub. Whatever PIN we had, we will provide it here, and we will authorize it. Once done, if we hit enter, we should be able to log in into the machine. And that's probably it from the demo side. Is it visible in full screen? Yeah. Okay, let's move ahead. So you have seen how it actually works, but we'll talk about in depth about its architecture, what we have created. So this is how the architecture overview look like. On the left pane, you can see the HCC and different services which we have, the front end, the back end. On the right side, you see the IPS server and the client virtual machine. They are basically two workflow. which we use. One is the registration workflow, in which you will run the IPA register command on the server with a token. Uh, this will this will go to the backend. In the backend, the information about the server is stored, and that's how the whole registration workflow work. On the enrollment side, from the client, you will create a request token. This token will go to the backend. Backend will have the information about the actual IPS server. This information is passed as a response to the client machine, and now client machine knows who to communicate to for domain registration. Then it will create a join request and will talk to the IPHCC server, and all these things happen in the background. Few things we need to make sure that everything is intact and work. As you see, it's a client and server setup. Networking part is something which we need to handle pretty well before we do any of these things. So there should be a proper communication between the HCC and the IPS server. DNS needs to be configured properly. IPA uses different protocols, so you need to make sure that the firewall and everything is intact. So at the end, we'll talk about some what's the current state of this project, what are different gaps, and what would be coming next. So in current state, it's in production, but it's in preview mode. We have different packages. As you have seen, it's in Fedora and Apple, but we would like to have it in RHEL. We have a documentation, but it's still needs some polishing, and we are still getting few information, writing it so that it's much better. We need to get some feedbacks from our customer, how they feel about the product. And of course, some community feedback would be very much welcome. We would like to hear about our product, whatever project we have created from the community. Right now, we have a limitation in which we can only use one active domain per org. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So what can come next? We would like to have Active Directory support. Active Directory has been used extensively in the market, and we would like to cap that in, and for that we probably need to add Active Directory support. We want to support multiple domains, and we have some design and something which we can make it work, but it's still in progress. We would like to integrate it with other HCC specification, like inside we would like to see different list of machines, and we would like to see which machine has auto-enroll to the domain server. So these are like just examples. So this is the grand vision which we have, and if we achieve this, we probably will be revolutionize how identity is managed or used across hybrid cloud. We would like to have a single user that can authenticate with hybrid cloud as well as to the machines. There are two ways with which we can do that. One is IPA with external IDP, and the other would be local KDC. There is a link to the talk of local KDC, so you can see that and get more familiar with that. This slide is the thing which talks about how you can integrate this solution if you don't want to use hybrid cloud console. So our architecture is not very tightly bound with HCC. Of course, the code is, but yeah, we would like to hear some feedbacks from the community, and we can work on that. What would you require to take care of? You would need to take care of X509 certificates to make sure to authenticate with the backend. There are other ways to authenticate, one of which is OTP join. If you have a use case, you can open a GitHub issue. You can hit us on the mailing list. We would like to hear your feedbacks, and we'll definitely communicate or understand your use case and work on that. So this is the architecture overview with some authentication. The main thing is it's the same how from the previous architecture overview. Only thing which changes the purpose part in which we have used different authentication mechanism. If you want to not use HCC, these two things which you probably need to work around or see how you can implement it in your environment. So in conclusion, this is how we have made a solution which is automated and can be used uh, across different hybrid cloud provider in which you can authenticate using an identity management. This is the resource page which I was talking about. It has list of our documentation, the GitHub project, definitely some other talks which can be used as some more piece of information, and also a link to our mailing list so you can communicate any feedback on there. So that's probably it from my side. Any questions from anyone would be really appreciated. Thank you.